And last, but by no means least, we have our most recent graduate, Alby Musaelian, has been making things for his whole life and loves it. He's made everything from a mini newspaper dispenser for his daily newspaper when he was 6, to a giant cardboard model ship with rigging at age 7, to 2 stop-motion films, and at least 3 apps, one involving singing toilets, available on the App Store today, and most recently, a giant mechanical walking machine named Trotbot. Alby is 16 years old. Please welcome him to the Stand Talk stage.
I like to make things. Things like an edition of a favorite play, promo videos for all sorts of organizations I've been involved with, or a 15-minute stop-motion animation movie. I've made apps, as you heard. I have now 5 apps on the iOS App Store, including the Talented Toilets, where you make these toilets sing along with your favorite songs.
The talented toilets, get them on the app today.
We can talk more about that later. But the biggest thing I've made is this. And this is Trotbot. And Trotbot is a giant mechanical walking machine. So the idea behind this was to build a giant mechanical walking machine that could walk smoothly, step over obstacles and climb over things that were in its way, and to do all of that with the fewest number of legs possible and with no electronics. No motors, no computers, no actuators, nothing like that. And this whole thing started about 4 years ago here at Stanley when Wade Vogley, who is a board member now, he was a parent, then still is a Stanley parent, he was running a Lego engineering club here at Stanley, and this is actually the Trotbot team back then in that club. That's Ben Vogley and Tom Patterson, who are both class of 2014, Sam Corman and August Taves, who are both class of 2015, and then there's me in the lower left corner. And in this club, we were working with Legos, trying to build these little walking machines and see how well we could make them work. And then a year later, we all got together again and we thought, wouldn't it be cool to make a giant one? A really big one? Little did we know, of course, that getting here would take us 3 years. But get there we did. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, we were very focused. But it was also a lot of work. We spent long days in Wade's garage, assembling and cutting and sawing and measuring and drilling all the parts for this giant machine, learning how to work a shop and building all of this. But even more than that, we spent days and days thinking through all of the technical problems we were facing, because we were facing a lot of really weird technical problems that we were solving ourselves. There wasn't anything out there for us to, go find an answer. And I don't have enough time to talk to you about any of those problems now, but if anyone's interested, I'm happy to talk later at length about them. But to that end, I made a computer simulator to help us understand some of the problems we were facing and solve them more efficiently. And you can see here on the screen, these are 2 visualizations created by my simulator. On the top, you can see this is a simulation of an addition we made later on to the robot in our overall process, and the mechanism itself is on the left, and you can see those graphs on the right. That was what allowed us to see, okay, adding this actually makes this better. Maybe it's worth putting in the 10 hours it takes to actually build this and add it to our machine. And on the bottom, you can see a simulation of the whole thing as it walks. So we put a lot of work into this and spent a lot of time. There were tons of Saturdays just spent out in Wade's garage, working, eating pizza and soda, then working again. And we wanted to share it with the world. And we knew that people thought it was cool because whenever one of Wade's neighbors would drive down the alley, they'd sort of stop, back up the car, roll down the window, sometimes just give us a look, sometimes they'd actually ask questions. So we took Trotbot out into the world for the very first time at the Denver Mini Maker Fair, which was in June of 2015 at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And for those of you who don't know what the Maker Fairs are, the way they describe it is that it's the greatest show and tell on earth. It's a showcase of invention, creativity, and resourcefulness, and it's a place where people share what they're making and share what they're learning. So it was a perfect place for us. And here you can see us setting up Trotbot the day before the fair at the museum in our goofy little hard hats. And setting up Trotbot at the museum was a major project in and of itself, figuring out how you actually get this somewhere and assemble it in the time you have. We spent weeks running and practicing and trying to figure out how we were going to do this. But we figured it out in the end. And the Maker Fair was incredible. We were right at the entrance to the fair. We were a huge hit. Over 4,500 people came through the fair over the weekend. And the fair really featured us, too. I was asked to give the Young Maker Spotlight talk about Trotbot, its story, some of the problems we were facing. I was also asked to sit on a panel the day before that talk. And we got media attention. We were featured in a Westward article about the fair. We were given a video spot in Make Magazine, the official magazine of the maker movement across the nation. And we even got a little bit of interest from Discovery Channel Canada, who said that they wanted to feature us on their main primetime science and tech show. It didn't work out for logistical reasons, but still. And there was a man at the Maker Fair who gave a talk before me. And he turned out that he was very involved in the maker movement across the nation. And he said to us that we should apply to try to take Trotbot to the World Maker Fair in New York later that year. Now, we knew that it was hard enough to get Trotbot down the street to the museum, and that we weren't really going to be able to get it to New York. But I applied for a speaker slot, and I was accepted, and went to the World Fair later that year in September of 2015. And the World Maker Fair is an awesome event. Over 90,000 people came through the fair over the weekend, and I guarantee they were all there just to hear me. Guaranteed. And so I gave my talk to all 90,000 people at the Make Live Tech and Culture stage, and everything about being in New York was incredible. But one of my favorite things was we were wandering around the fair before my talk, just seeing what was there, seeing all the booths and all the people who'd come from around the nation to show their stuff. And we were stopped by a dad and his 2 kids. And the dad says, "Wait, you're that kid from the website. The one with the giant walking thing. Oh, that was so cool. We're gonna come hear your talk." And that feels really good to have a random stranger stop you and say, "You're awesome." So obviously, Trotbot and this whole project has been a huge part of my life for the last 3 years. And it's really great to be able to share that a little bit with you now too. But I'm here to answer something else. As Bruce said, a question. What's the connection to Stanley? What does Stanley have to do with this? There's something really obvious. Everybody involved in this project was a Stanley student or a Stanley alum or a member of the Stanley community. We all met here in that Lego engineering class that Wade was doing. And maybe this whole maker thing, maybe it seems like it shares a bit of an ethos and a bit of an attitude with Stanley. But for me personally, it's something different. For one thing, I've been doing a lot of public speaking, and as most of you know who knew me, I did a lot of talking here. A lot of talking. But also, when I was here, whenever I wanted to do something that was off the beaten path, or that somebody hadn't done before, that there wasn't a rubric for, and there weren't guidelines, nobody ever said, "Sorry, no, we can't do that. We don't have paperwork for that. We just can't do that." People said, "Why not?" And more often than not, actually almost all the time, they said, "How can we help?" And when somebody reinforces your sense of why not, really cool things can happen. Things like these, and things like that. Thank you.
Yeah.